Has everybody had a chance to say hello except for this princess? Raven, okay, Raven, so good to see you and hear from you. Okay, so why don't we start with you, since you were the first one to get started, and then you can just sort of repeat who you are and what you're doing, and then we'll go down the row. And
okay, again, Barry Jamison with the New York City Commission on Human Rights. I'm director of Manhattan Community Service Center, and our office, the Community Relations Group, we're involved in educating people about the human rights law as a law that enforces the anti-discrimination laws in the city. And basically, we're a civil rights agency. We have left literature out front where we kind of educate. We go into schools and educate students about the human rights law, what discrimination is, what those protected classes are, and we join with the schools when invited to kind of participate in their respect for all policies. We have an office in each borough. So I invite folks to contact our office if you want us to come out and do presentations and talk about the human rights law as it exists in New York City.
My name is Cecilia Loving, and I am really one of the components to the New York City Commission on Human Rights. I am one of the lawyers in the Law Enforcement Bureau, and we do just what the name implies. We enforce the human rights laws, and those laws pertain to discrimination against race, against nationality, national origin, against color, against disability. And our laws have been in place for decades, so this is not new. These services have always been provided. They're provided for free. As Barry indicated, if you have need of services, you can call us. Our number is 212-306-7450. That is a number where you can set up an appointment if you feel that you've been discriminated against. And if we have a little bit...
Could you repeat that number?
212-306-7450. Now, you may have a complaint and you may have something that you feel is a viable claim. It has to fall within the jurisdiction of the statute. And there are various reasons why it may not fall within the statute's jurisdiction. You may have brought it in another agency. It may be a claim that's older than a year. You may have already brought it before EEO or EOC or the New York State Commission on Human Rights. But I can go into that in more detail as we do our presentations more in full.
What's your name?
Cecilia Loving.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gail Reeves. I'm the Community Superintendent for Community School District 5 here in Harlem. Thank you, Senator Perkins, for inviting us to be here. I think also on your seats you received a copy of the letter which was sent from our chancellor, signed by our chancellor, and was sent to all parents. I did also provide for you a translated version of that letter if you would like it in either French or Spanish, and if there are other languages that you desire, we can certainly provide a copy of that letter for you. As it pertains to what we have been doing at the Department of Education, we have been providing weekly updates and information to our principals, and they receive that information every week via email. The Department of Health has been working very closely with our Department of Education in ensuring that our nurses and all of our school personnel are kept apprised and are well trained. They did receive a protocol pertaining to if there are any suspected cases, so that information has been shared. As it pertains to the concerns that have been raised regarding how our students may or may not be treated, please understand that we do take that very, very seriously. So if there are any specific individual concerns, please feel free to bring those to our attention. We have been following up. We have been reinforcing our respect for all curriculum. We have been addressing this with our families. I do have a parent meeting that is upcoming, and I do plan on once again reinforcing and sharing information. The information is shared at our CEC meetings, as well as reinforced with any of the staff meetings that we may have. Contained in the letter, you will note that there is a website, which is schools.nyc.gov. I invite you to visit the website and to apprise yourself of the link. There's a lot of information, which is very factual information regarding Ebola, including an FAQ, a frequently asked question document, that you can also use to serve with other families in the community as well.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Famod Kone, and I'm from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and I'm also responsible for the Office Outreach to the African Community. And since the inception of the Ebola epidemic, we have been following the issue very closely. As a matter of fact, the DA's office is a part of the Manhattan Borough President African Task Force that is organizing an event, a community dialogue event on Ebola tomorrow at the City College. So we are aware of some of the complaints that people of stigmatization and bullying. We are closely monitoring the issue, and we keep monitoring the issue until we come up with a policy on how to address the issue. At this point, we are just partnering with our different city agencies to raise more awareness, to educate the community in a better way possible, to avert the possibility of this situation elevating to a crime where we would get involved and begin to prosecute people. But at this point, we are just part of the effort to educate the community and to avert this from turning into something more catastrophe than it is in Africa. But my number, I'm with the District Attorney's Office. I'll give you my number, and if you have any issues that you think we can be of help, please feel free to contact our office. My number is 212.
Could you say it a little louder, because we can't hear it back.
My number is 212-335-9059. Once again, it's 212-335-9059. We do have a satellite office on the 7th floor in this building. You can also walk in if you have concerns or you have questions. You can walk in and ask to speak to me or speak to anyone in our office about any issue of concern. Thank you.
Before we go to the next speaker, I just want to make sure the letter that Superintendent Reeves was talking about, did everybody get it? This is the letter.
I don't have the English version.
You don't have English, okay.
Pulling this together, we're continuing this conversation tomorrow because it's a conversation that we will continuously need to have. The prejudice that individuals and businesses are experiencing is not something that's going to go away tomorrow morning. It's something that we're going to have to deal with and confront. You all are going to have to inform us so that we can get the Division of Human Rights, get the DA's office, get them all involved and hold their feet to the fire to ensure that your rights are not violated. I do worry that we are not doing a good enough job, and when I say we, I don't just mean the Assemblyman's office, I mean we collectively are not doing a good enough job about spreading the facts about the how you get Ebola, how you transfer Ebola, how it arrived here in New York, the things that the Port Authority is doing, the things that our Governor Cuomo and Christie are doing, the things that our President Obama is doing. I think we do need to continue to have these conversations so we can share that information and calm people's nerves, because I would hate to see the businesses that are thriving, the African businesses that are thriving in Harlem, suffer needlessly. I hate to see the children who are of immigrant parents suffer in schools beyond when this Ebola crisis is no longer going to be called a crisis. We really have to educate ourselves and I think join together as a united community to figure out the long-term remedies of just being civil towards one another. And I beg you to let our office know of things that are happening, let our office know of ways we can be helpful in bringing the resources of government to bear, and also making sure that we hold conversations like this. That we want to try and pack every room, every opportunity that starts with spreading the word. Everyone should take a flyer and give out 3 to make sure that at least 10 people come to tomorrow's conversation. We have to do that. Thank you, Senator.
Give the office number.
Our office number is 212-866-5809, 212-866-5809. And Ms. Loving's number is very important. That's where the enforcement comes into play. Her number again, it's 212-306-7450.
Okay. Questions? Yes. Identify yourself again, please.
My name is Obi Emerald, and I am originally from Nigeria. What I want to say is, in addition to the bullying issue and the concerns that we have, we still have to accept the fact that Ebola is a fact. All right? Why I'm saying that is I received, we have to be very, very conscious of the information we use and the information we get and what we do with it. This is a flyer I got here today, and it's saying that people should stay out of the hospitals. That's not true. If you have any symptom and you are coming from those identified areas and you feel that you have gotten in contact with anybody associated with this, you must go to the hospital. That's your best place. So saying that we shouldn't go to the hospital could be, it's a little confusing, please. All right, you must go to the hospital for it. And the hospitals are prepared. The hospitals are prepared to take care of us. Thank you.
So, may I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you raised this. This is very, very important. Who is the Health Sciences Institute that put this out?
Somebody distributed it here, and I shared it with the hospital.
Is anybody familiar with this organization?
It's really confusing and concerned.
Anybody familiar with this organization? No? It's called the Health, according to this, it's prepared by the Health Sciences Institute. Health Sciences Institute. And it says try to stay out of the hospital, amongst other things. So maybe we will have to look to see. There may be other such organizations that are misinforming. Yeah. Okay, anyone else?
I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to direct it. A couple of days ago, the news was that Nigeria was fantastic. It had licked the problem, and it was a model to be followed. Now it's on the list, and I'm wondering, do we have any idea what happened? How did it now get back on the list, or?
You say something?
I think she was.
I'm anyone who's able to respond.
I can answer that. All right. So actually, again, that's one of the confusion we had. Nigeria was a part of the affected countries at the beginning. There were about 21, 28 infections, and about 6 or 7 people died. As of 2 weeks ago, the government declared the country Ebola free. There are 3 countries at this point that are in the list. One is Guinea, of course. We have Liberia, and then we have one more country, which is Sierra Leone. And again, based on the information I got last night, Liberia and Guinea, they're all doing very well. Okay, they're gradually having less reported cases. Again, the worst thing that could happen is the fear. We should gradually learn that Ebola is not something you just get. It takes so much. I'll give you an example with the Texas case. The 2 nurses that got it in Texas were the people that took care of this patient during the critical care mode of the disease. They were suctioning. They were fully involved. Okay, so it's not something that you get casually. Okay, I just have to say that under your fears.
Yeah, but this report was not kind of like a gossip.
But there are several different areas where discrimination may come up, and so I want everybody to be aware of the various aspects of the discrimination that are actually covered by the New York City Human Rights Law, which is a great law in the sense that it is more liberal than federal law and more liberal than state law. The first area is that it may come up in the employment context, that you can't be refused to be hired, or you can't be unlawfully discharged on the basis of your nationality or your race or your disability or your color. The second area where discrimination may come up is in the public accommodation context. And that is anytime you try to access a resource or a service that is generally given to the public. What's an example? If you go to the grocery store and you're treated unfairly or you're discriminated against. The third area where it comes up is in the housing context. You can't be denied the right to rent or sublet an apartment or any other term, privilege, or condition of housing. One of the other areas that it may come up is in the area of what we call bias harassment. But bias harassment has to be frequent, and it has to be continued, and it has to be some type of undue force. And then the fifth area that might impact businesses is any type of boycotting, but it has to be a very specific and obvious type of boycotting. The other distinction that I want to make is the difference between our civil practice and criminal practice. If there is a threat or a violence or assault, then you want to call 911. You want to call the police. That's an area. The criminal area is something that the DA's office takes care of, and not the civil area. If you pursue a discrimination case at the New York City Commission on Human Rights, it evolves through the same type of litigation process that any other litigation has to evolve in. There has to be a pleading. There is a period of investigation. We may decide after the investigation that you don't have a case, or we may decide that we're going to send your case to trial. And so then we have an administrative tribunal that hears these types of cases. And so it's important to make that distinction. The great thing about the Human Rights Division is that we represent you for free. And so we can obtain damages for you. We can also get other kinds of what we call in the law equitable relief. And that means that if someone is unlawfully, and the court finds they are unlawfully terminated from their job, for example, we can force your employer to rehire you. And so there are various other types of remedies, but I think it's just important to make that distinction between more immediate relief and all of the various areas that our law covers. If you have any confusion or questions, once again, you can call the number that's been mentioned several times.
Right now, what is the sense of how pervasive this problem is in terms of the kinds of concerns that have come to your attention?
In terms of the Human Rights Division?
Yes.
There have been very few. In fact, I have only heard of one case that has been brought to our attention, and it was a case in the employment context.
And what was
where someone, and I think I can share that, I believe it's public record now, where somebody's supervisor felt that they had Ebola because they were from Africa. And so that's the type of case that we are attempting to enforce.
Let me just add, because I think it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be an actual member of a protected class, but if you perceive to be a member of a particular protected class, it will be jurisdictional. Even if you're perceived to have a disability, which Ebola would be considered a disability, that's something actionable, and the Law Enforcement Bureau can handle that.
Do we know what it means?
Could you be more specific about the nature of that incident? Where did it happen?
No, I can't. I don't have that kind of information. It wasn't a case that I handled. It was just something that I heard about in general in the office.
Yeah. Is there any indication that you can lead us to where we could find?
Yes, I'll talk to you afterwards about that.
I want to point out, though, that you're hearing a lot of jargon, right? You're hearing things about protected class. You're hearing about, I don't know if you said disparate treatment, or ongoing discrimination and action, things like that, don't second guess. Don't try to analyze whether or not this is something you should pick up the phone and call for help to have addressed. Just pick up the phone and then let the experts vet it. This is what they do. This is what they do all day. They're there to receive your phone calls. You don't have to be a health official on the street to determine whether or not you're feeling sick. Go get the help, right? We pointed out that that information was misleading in that document received today. If someone's feeling sick, they should go get checked out. You don't try to be a lawyer on the street yourself. There's a saying, the man who represents himself as a lawyer has a fool for a client, right? You don't represent yourself. Let them vet it and find out if there is a need to go forward and enforce the rights that you have that are on the books that you're entitled to.
Yes, okay?
Yes, I just want to bring one point. Like, I know there is a principal here and the educator and the human rights people here. So why they don't want to speak to the teacher, tell them, the student, it's not about you come from Africa, you have Ebola. So get everyone get ready. So Ebola is not coming just like this. So the teacher have also right to say something on all the educators, because a lot of kids right now, African kids, they get scared now to go to school, and they don't make no one's being comfortable. So as a human right, you don't have to wait until we call, but get the teacher, the responsible, be ready to talk to the students. I don't know what was your point with that.
So I can, go ahead.
Is that we have to educate our children and their parents, and the teachers. So a campaign maybe in the Department of Education needs to happen where we're proactively speaking to students and children. Now, I know y'all have the I can't remember the term, respect for all. In terms of bullying in general, but this is very specific and very special and very, it's very targeted. And I think especially in neighborhoods like our neighborhood where we have a large West African population, we have to be very careful. That's going on. There's also other things that are going on that are hurting our children. And the forum that we held previously, we learned, and you might suspect, that there are people living here where their whole family has been affected in Africa, and are afraid to even say anything, where they need grief counseling, they need some support. We have reports of whole villages that have been wiped out. This is serious for people who are living here, who are American born or who are living in the United States. So if we're making our students feel uncomfortable where they don't even want to come to school, can you imagine what they're walking around holding in situations where they may have lost a family member, grandparents, parents even? We don't know. We don't know where this, so we need that kind of support.
Yeah, that's what we need. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I hardly agree with you, and it goes back to that sensitivity training that we need to continue reinforcing. Just yesterday I had a district leadership team meeting, and at the meeting were parents, there were teachers, there were principals represented, and that was something that we dealt with, and it was an issue really that I raised, that we do need to be sensitive and to continue to reinforce that sensitivity at all levels. Because I think our children at times, they may not know and understand sometimes how the very words that they say, the power that is in those words, and how it can impact a family, especially if it's a family that may be keeping a secret that there are family members that are affected. So we will continue to ensure that we continue to reinforce, certainly within our school systems, and continue to encourage our students to just be very mindful of the very words, or as simple as their actions.
But in addition to that, I hate to, because I really want to see something extra done. And you may not be able to say this tonight, but I'd like the Department of Education, and perhaps even some people in this room could help with that conversation, that something additional needs to be done. When there's shootings at schools, we go to the school. Yes, we talk to them about violence, but we go there and we counsel them and we talk to them about something that just happened in their community. Because not only are they in school facing bullying, but from some of the stories I've heard of people who've gotten fired or mean things that have been said to people, they're dealing with what's happening with their parents too. So I'm just saying, I think there's a need to have a special campaign. You know, they need to hear somebody say, that's not right, and we support you, and you're our neighbors. And I don't think that message has come across, not from anywhere yet in government, you know, including the mayor's office that's here. We need to be saying that. All we're hearing about is ban these people, quarantine these people. You know, this is what we're hearing. So it's real negative out there right now. And I'm just saying, as far as it relates to the bullying and whatever's going on in school and our children, I think we need to do a special campaign, especially in neighborhoods where we have this kind of population.
Let me just add that, again, through our network of community service centers, we're available to kind of help in that education in terms of what the human rights law is and what those protections are. It is a broad law and there's a wide range of protections that we have. So I think in terms of reaching out to us, we're available to do that.
Yes.
I have a question for if there is anyone from health department. Whoever sitting here, they should know exactly if someone coughing in the train, in the classroom, in the neighborhood, do they have to conclude their mind? Or what are the symptoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, if someone coughing or people feeling he might have that. So what they should do is step 1, step 2, step 3. And this is also, I think, done by education department as well. And also health department should issue a notice that this is the symptoms, this is what you should do, you should call this number and that. So if there is anyone right now in the meeting from health department who can guide us.
So this is a step in the right direction, I think, of what you're talking about, which is this event that's going to be taking place tomorrow, which I think you may have a copy of it. There are other copies here.
Yeah.
And this is being sponsored by the borough president, Gail Brewer. So this is one of the issues that I'm sure they'll be addressed. We're in communication and working together. We're actually one of the sponsors of this as well. So we'll try to make sure that that concern is part of the discussion.
And I just wanted to add to that, Senator Perkins, that what you requested, if you do go on to the Department of Education website, there is a document called a frequently asked question document that you can easily print as well. And it does go through the facts. It talks about what is Ebola, how is it spread, it gives the symptoms, it talks about when the symptoms appear, and it goes through whether or not how the infection can be prevented. So there are documents that are also available that can be utilized.
You know, I just want to sort of follow up a little bit on the education piece. So, you know, because I think that the public school system needs to do more. I just think that from what I've heard, and I know that there was a conference call earlier today to indicate some more that might be getting done. But there has to be a more concerted effort with those kids in those schools, with their parents and whatnot, because kids are cruel unwittingly. You know, they think they're joking sometimes and they don't know better, and their parents probably sometimes know even less because they are victims of the same misinformation and whatnot that the rest of us are. So I think a key part of this, our larger community, is the effort being made by the Department of Education as it relates to all those, what do we got, 1.1 million kids? Okay, that's a lot of folks that could be if we get half of them misinformed, think how bad that is. How many teachers we got? Get half of them misinformed. If you are sure that everybody there is on point, then no kid that goes to any of your schools will ever be bothered by being called, Ebola. You understand? That's the first and most important thing. If you get that out of the way, then the parents of those kids will be relieved as well. So I just want to, as much as possible, complain that y'all need to do more about that. Because I think that can make a big difference. It came to us that way, and I remember how the family felt about it. And it's even in the charter schools, of all places. The charter schools. So please.
No, college.
And the Belleville Manhattan Community College, where her son